Money habits are not random. They are not personality traits. They are not even fully conscious choices. They are survival strategies, patterns built under pressure, shaped by the environment people were forced to live in. For decades, something quiet but powerful has been happening in the background of the global economy. Financial responsibility has been shifting, slowly, steadily, almost invisibly. The burden of risk has moved away from institutions and landed directly on individuals. This shift is often called the Great Risk Transfer. In the past, governments and employers absorbed most of the uncertainty. Today, you do. Retirement used to be guaranteed through pensions. Jobs used to offer stability. Now, both have been replaced by systems where individuals are expected to manage everything: themselves, investments, risks, and future security. And each generation has simply adapted to the version of the game they were handed. The generation that came after World War II, often called the silent generation, developed a very specific relationship with money. For them, cash was not just a tool, it was safety. Debt was not normal, it was dangerous. They lived through scarcity, war recovery, and a system that rewarded discipline. Jobs were stable, wages were predictable, strong labor unions and a booming manufacturing economy created an environment where loyalty paid off. You could work for one company your entire life, buy a home on a single income, and retire with a guaranteed pension. In that world, saving money was not just wise, it was the correct strategy. Their frugality wasn't fear, it was logic. The system they lived in rewarded caution, patience, and consistency. Then came the baby boomers, entering adulthood during a time of transition. The world they stepped into was still stable, but cracks had started to form. This was the generation that witnessed the slow death of pensions and the rise of the 401k. For the first time in modern history, ordinary workers were expected to take control of their own retirement investments. This was a massive shift. Instead of relying on employers, individuals now had to navigate markets, manage risk, and plan their financial future. This is why boomers became deeply focused on assets, especially real estate and retirement accounts. From the outside, it may look like obsession or even greed, but from their perspective, these were not luxuries, they were survival tools. Their home and their investment portfolio became the only safety nets they could trust. Generation X grew up watching something even more unsettling. They saw the system break promises. They watched their parents, who had been loyal to companies for decades, lose their jobs due to layoffs and restructuring. Stability, which once felt guaranteed, suddenly looked fragile. As they entered the workforce, they faced economic turbulence, including market crashes and uncertainty. The 2008 financial crisis hit them during their prime working years, reinforcing one key belief: nothing is truly secure. As a result, Gen X developed a defensive mindset toward money. They save aggressively. They build large emergency funds. They create multiple income streams. They don't trust institutions easily. Instead, they trust what they can control. Their financial behavior may seem overly cautious, but it is rooted in lived experience. They are not pessimistic by nature. They are realistic based on what they have seen. Millennials inherited a completely different story. They were raised with a clear script: go to college, get a degree, take loans if necessary, and everything will work out. But reality did not match that promise. Tuition costs skyrocketed, student debt became overwhelming, wages stagnated, and just as many millennials were entering the workforce, the 2008 financial crisis hit, collapsing job opportunities. The system they were told to trust failed them at the exact moment they needed it most. This created a deep disconnect. Older generations often criticize millennials for spending money on experiences, travel, dining, lifestyle, but that criticism misses the context. When long-term stability feels uncertain, focusing on short-term enjoyment becomes a rational response. It's not carelessness, it's adaptation. If the future feels unpredictable, people prioritize the present. Then comes Generation Z, the first generation to grow up entirely in a digital financial world. They were born into the aftermath of economic crises and global uncertainty, including the pandemic. Their introduction to money did not come from banks or traditional advisors. It came from social media platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and online communities. They have seen traditional paths, college, corporate jobs, long-term employment fail or weaken. As a result, their approach to money is extreme in both directions. On one side, they are highly entrepreneurial, constantly searching for new income streams, side hustles, and digital opportunities. On the other side, they engage in high-risk behavior, trading volatile assets, chasing quick gains, and participating in speculative markets. To older generations, this may look reckless, but from their perspective, the system itself feels unstable. If safe paths no longer guarantee success, then taking big risks feels justified. Despite these differences, there is a common thread connecting every generation. What appears to be bad financial behavior is often a rational response to the environment people experienced. The silent generation saved because stability rewarded patience. Boomers invested heavily because they had to replace disappearing pensions. Gen X became cautious because they witnessed instability firsthand. Millennials shifted toward present-focused spending because long-term promises failed them. Gen Z experiments with extremes because they see the system as unpredictable. Each pattern makes sense when viewed in context. What makes this even more complex is how the modern financial system interacts with these behaviors. Markets and industries have learned to monetize these generational fears and tendencies. Scarcity-driven mindsets are targeted with products like gold, investments, and conservative savings tools. Fear and desperation are exploited through high-interest loans and debt cycles. Hope, the desire for a breakthrough, is often sold through speculative investments, get-rich-quick schemes, and high-risk opportunities. In many ways, the system doesn't just respond to human behavior, it amplifies it for profit. Understanding this changes the way you see money. It shifts the focus away from blame and toward awareness. Your financial habits are not random flaws. They are patterns shaped by your environment, your upbringing, and the economic realities you have experienced. If you grew up during uncertainty, your caution makes sense. If you lean toward spending, there is a reason behind it. If you chase opportunities aggressively, that behavior is also rooted in context. None of these patterns are inherently wrong, but they are not always optimal for the future you want to build. The challenge, then, is not to reject your instincts completely, but to understand them, to recognize where they come from, and decide whether they still serve you. Because while your habits were shaped by the past, your future will be shaped by the choices you make consciously. The environment may have programmed your initial response, but you still have the ability to adjust the system moving forward. At its core, money is not just about numbers. It is about behavior under pressure. It is about how people respond when the ground beneath them feels uncertain. Every generation faced a different version of that uncertainty, and each one adapted in its own way. But today, you have access to something previous generations did not: information, awareness, and the ability to learn from multiple perspectives at once. The real power comes from combining that awareness with action, not blindly following the habits of any one generation, but building a balanced system, taking the discipline of the silent generation, the asset focus of the boomers, the caution of Gen X, the adaptability of millennials, and the creativity of Gen Z in using them intentionally. Because no single strategy is perfect, but a thoughtful combination can be powerful. In the end, your financial life is not predetermined. It is influenced, shaped, and guided, but not fixed. The system you were born into matters, but it does not define your final outcome. What defines it is your ability to understand the rules, recognize the patterns, and make better decisions moving forward. So instead of asking, "What is wrong with my money habits?" the better question is, where did these habits come from, and do they still make sense for the life I want to build? Because once you understand that, you stop reacting and you start building.